and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us. Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda is the February meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? I'll make a motion to approve. All in favor?
Second.
For a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up, consent agenda. Kristen, do you want to go through that?
Sure. Just based on our initial review and then looking at the property, there was no trees being removed and 75 cubic yards of dirt remaining on site. Everything else looked fine. Not complicated.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
All righty. All right, we're going to move into new grading permits. We're going to start with Aberdeen Avenue first. You guys, we'll put you up here first since you're left off. Do you have your notes from the last meeting, the items we had talked about? We could go, Kristen has them pulled up here if you want to just.
Yeah, I just want to confirm it's 119 Aberdeen?
That is correct, yep.
Okay, so just the notes, it says, the homeowners presented the plans for the construction of a garage at 119 Aberdeen, one tree being removed, one tree replacement shown. However, 6 replacement trees, including 4 large shade trees, are required. The plans need updating to show the trees on site, tree protection, a planting schedule, or fee in lieu for the 6 trees. Also needs to show DBH of tree being removed. So we made a motion last time to table it and ask you to come back with those things.
Okay, yeah, so the plans that we have in front of us, I don't know if we can zoom in a bit, have all of the trees on the property marked. There are 4 trees to be removed. This one, they are all marked with an X on the plans. One is a white oak, the other 3 are pine, with the DBH noted. 1 falls into the heritage tree, 2 fall into the, I believe it's 19 to 29 bracket, and 1 falls into the lower bracket, which based on my reading would be 13 replacement trees.
So according to the ordinance, it's actually just 6 replacement trees because you're under the 5 per year, since you're only taking down 4. But since you're taking a heritage tree down that's not hazardous, there is a compensatory of 6 trees, 4 being large canopy, 2 being any type of tree. So if you're planting 13, that would be great. But we do need to see a minimum of 6 with 4 large canopy.
We're planning to pay the fee in lieu of planting the trees.
Okay, so we,
$1,800, or no?
is it $350 a tree?
I
Or
thought it was
$250?
300, but
300.
you let us know what it is.
So $1,800, yeah. Kristen, do you have, what were the other items that we were looking at? Tree protection?
Oh, tree protection.
Those up there?
Is noted here, 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 with the large circles around all trees to be protected.
And the cherry tree,
noted.
just in case, because I think someone mentioned that trucks might come in a different way, so we're just going to protect the cherry tree, just because it's a beautiful tree, so just in case.
Is there any way that it's a garage, correct?
It is.
And it's going right where that heritage tree is?
Yeah, we had looked at different ways of getting around it, but there's
Doesn't work?
no way of getting around it.
It would require like a variance to move the, like, if we try to like move it back and attach, it just wasn't.
Gotcha, okay. Anybody else have any questions?
And there's no room to replant any trees anywhere else on the site?
So, yeah, I think there is room, and I've hired an arborist and everything like that, and it's not that I would not going to plant. It's just that this process is very intimidating. And,
Sure.
and I'm probably going to plant trees, but I'm just going to say, like, you know, eventually I would plant a tree, but I'm very, like, intimidated by this whole process.
So there's definitely some.
And would just like rather pay the fee and just be like, is this what you need? I'm
there's-
scared.
There is room here
Yeah.
as well
Okay.
as room here to
Well-
plant trees. I think the number of 6 is a lot more intimidating than the number of 13.
13,
As I
sure.
read it, I just applied the formula to every tree
Sure.
that was coming out. We are planning to have the property landscaped completely. We can speak to our landscaper about opportunities to plant
Sure.
trees.
How many trees do you think you could, or do you want to plant later? Like 2, 3?
I mean, I would really like, a couple more of the cherry trees. They're really pretty, so like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have some Japanese maples in the property, which are really nice. We have some a cherry tree, which we love, and hopefully will be in bloom next month. So I hadn't really thought of an exact number, but there is definitely
Oh, yeah, there's-
unused space up in this corner and in this area of the yard that
Sure.
trees could be planted in.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make this process as least intimidating as possible. And most times we require some sort of landscape plan to show exactly what you would plant. But I don't know if it's, open to this commission if we can say, hey, 4 trees in lieu of 2 they're going to plant at some point. We would want to get that in some sort of confidence in writing and on the record, but thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we could make a motion to approve it contingent upon just over the next couple weeks, sending in what you plan to plant, right?
Yeah, we can
And then
work with
the fee in lieu for the difference? That way you don't have to come back again?
Yeah, that
That's
would
what
be-
I'm saying.
That would be ideal. I'm happy to talk to our landscaper and get his recommendation in terms of where and what to plant, and then just true up everything that he doesn't believe we can fit on the property. So when we think of trees to plant, I know that there are some recommendations in the
The list thing I
ordinance.
gave.
What should we think of in terms of canopy trees or non-canopy trees?
So, I mean, we're the Shade Tree Commission for a reason, that's our name. So we would prefer large shade trees, and, there's a lot of great natives that you could plant. Oaks, walnuts, hackberries, sycamores, lots of great options. But also understanding aesthetic, maybe a mix of couple large shade trees, couple cherry trees. So give it some thought, but I'd love, to get trees back on your property and, make sure you're only paying for what's needed.
Yeah, I would suggest that we do, I think, keep it simple. Go with 4 at the 300, and then I'm fine with doing 2 if you're planting. It sounds like you're going to plant like a cherry or something, which would be considered a small canopy tree. So we could use the 4 other trees at $300 to buy some trees in the township and plant large canopy somewhere where they could be used. So if does that sound like a plan? Do 4 at 300, and then you guys plant 2 at your house?
Yeah, we can do.
And then I'm fine with, if you say, hey, we're going to plant 4 oak trees at our house as well, and just sign off with John or somebody else at the township, I'm good with that too.
Yeah, and as far as documentation, you could literally just, the sheet you have there, mark where you're going to plant the new trees, say what species they are, and that would be sufficient documentation.
Right.
Right.
Sorry, my confusion was only because the large canopy on its own is 6 replacement trees. So
Oh, yeah, 6.
it's 6, 4 need to be,
4 large canopy, yeah.
right, so you're saying 4 at 300 fee in lieu,
Mhm.
right?
Knowing that they're going to plant probably more than 2, it sounds like. So we're saying as long as we get some plans indicating that at least 2 trees are being planted.
So 13 was incorrect?
13 was, I guess that was incorrect.
I know.
That was my reading.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
You
I
only
was
need
just, like,
compensatory
counting
for
each tree
the
that's
heritage
gonna be
tree.
removed.
They're not clearing over 5 trees.
Right, so only the heritage applies in this case.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
What would you guys rather do? You guys came up here with 4 trees compensatory.
Look, I can work with that. I'll get 2 trees
Okay.
that will be marked on the plans. Where would you like me to submit them?
So
Seth
to-
usually thinks, no, I'm joking.
To the township,
Township.
so you can get them to engineering, which, same place that these plans ended up.
Okay, and what about paying the fee? It's probably in the ordinance somewhere, but how do I go about doing that?
Yeah, when you send in this to the township, all of that communication will be handled at that point.
Okay.
And typically, when you get in the minutes of the meeting, the township will likely reach out at some point for that.
Okay, great. And you have all of our contact information from the previous?
Yeah, that was good. So I'm going to make a motion to do 4 trees at $300 in lieu of planning, and then you guys will plant 2 trees on your own.
Great.
Do I have a second?
And submit the planting plan to the township whenever you're ready.
Yeah, just mark where you're putting the trees
Will do.
and which trees. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gibbons, I
Yes.
believe we have a presentation that we might have skipped over.
Oh, I'm sorry. Skunk Hollow. Thank you, Ricky. Skunk Hollow? Hi, how are you?
I'm great. My name is Francis DeRoos. I'm a resident of 809 Briarwood Road since 2000, and I am the current leader of the Skunk Hollow Community Garden. And I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about a sort of collaborative opportunity and a place where we're going to start doing some work in the Skunk Hollow area to improve the habitat. So just by orientation, there's Darby Paley Road, the exit of the Willows Road, which is currently now being repaved. And if you look a little closer to this, you can see here's the Willows Mansion. Here is the Skunk Hollow Community Garden. We have our founder here. Sarah Pilling was one of the founders of this garden and the inspiration of making this place happen. We currently have over 60 resident families that garden there. And we're off to a great start this year. What I want to focus on is this little piece of land right here between the Willows Mansion and Skunk Hollow. It's where we have our water tank. It's where the bees, if you're familiar with the beehives, they're located right here. And this area here, I think there's a great opportunity to clear out the invasive plants and expose some of the really more beautiful trees. And so just to give you a little more orientation, where we're looking now is there's the water tank. To the far right is the Skunk Hollow Community Garden, and sort of this patch right here in the center of the screen, you can see the large evergreens that are on the Willows property in the background. There's some fallen dead trees in here. There's lots of invasive plants. This is a bunch of multiflora rose and the vines that are the ivy and the porcelain berry that are sort of pulling down some of these larger plants. And I guess the reason I'm talking to you here is there are trees like this in this little patch. This is a giant beech tree that probably has about 40 nursery trees around it right now. It's one of the largest beech trees I've seen in the Willows area. It's right at the entrance of our garden, and in fact, that whole mound in front of there is essentially its root ball. It's so gigantic. That's been successfully cleared out, but there's spaces just up above there that we actually could use a little bit of help, and then obviously to replant this area with some trees. I think there's an opportunity for some nice canopy trees in this space as well. What do we do to get started, and what is our plan? So currently, a few volunteers from this community garden have been pulling vines, specifically porcelain berry and some of the ivy, but we could use some help with some expertise on what's out there, what the trees are. There's some smaller trees that are being smothered. There's some larger trees. What do we need to save? What's worth it? What's not? And then with the long-term goal of repopulating this space with native plants that are shrubs, trees, and perennials that we ultimately hope to grow on site in that little space that we're clearing. So the idea is that we'll have gardeners not only come into the community garden space that's defined by the fence to grow food, but we'll also have a space where gardeners can come and grow native plants that eventually we can populate not only the space around the garden, but then into Skunk Hollow. that's sort of the long-term, sort of bigger goal idea that we have going on. We need some collaborative help. Ricky has been really great in working with the garden. He built a berm for us last year because we had a lot of flooding issues in the garden. We had no flooding this entire year. We had it all planted out. If any of you were at the fall festival, we had pumpkins and squash growing on the northern part of that, right where the pumpkins are spread out for the kids. We want to minimize the inputs, so we don't want to have a lot of trucks and things driving around. We want to do most of this sort of strategically rather than just sort of blatantly, sort of taking a lot of stuff out. And we want it to be self-sustainable, meaning that we don't want to haul material out of this place. If we're weeding, we want to put it just on site if we possibly can, have some areas where long-term we'll be able to sort of continue to compost and do whatever in that area. And again, a place where the public can use not only the willows, but also the Skunk Hollow Community Garden. We've got a lot of dog walkers and everybody walking around through there. I think it's a great opportunity to showcase sort of what our township can do and what collaboration between sort of township residents as well as the government can do to sort of improve this space. So I'm here to ask for some help, and yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Thank you so much. I love to garden. I was not aware of this, even though we talk to Sarah all the time. Can you just give us a quick overview, like who is this open to, or is it restricted to certain
So
neighborhoods?
this is a public space. This is part of Skunk Hollow
Okay.
proper. It's a strip of land that's between where the Willows Mansion footprint is, so to speak, and the garden itself. So it's public space. People can walk in, walk out. There's nothing unusual. There's no locks and keys like there is for the vegetable garden, which has a specific. You have
So
to be a
to
member
have
to
a
be a member.
plot there,
That's in the.
anybody can?
So what our idea is that anybody can come and help learn how to grow and do stuff. Like, we're just learning how to do this on our own, right? We're
Okay.
starting from scratch.
Okay.
We have about 4 or 5 gardeners who've been starting plants at home from seed for
Okay.
the last few years. Some have been very successful. We're starting to plant those out into our backyards, basically. And so things that we'll learn from those techniques, we'll start applying them into that space, and then hopefully be able to propagate
Is there
some
like a
plants.
website, a Facebook page
We got nothing.
already?
We've
You've
got nothing.
yet? Okay.
We're just, again, we'd rather do stuff than just like, I'm not an electronics person, I'm not a
Okay.
website person.
Miss-
All right, I
Miss-
was just curious.
Yeah.
Mr. Francis, if I'm not mistaken, Kristen, you were asking about how to get access to be a gardener inside the garden? I think that's what you was
Oh,
asking.
you're asking about how to be a gardener at the Skunk Hollow Community Garden?
Yes, who is it open to, is
Oh,
what
it's
I was
open
asking.
so it's open to township residents. That's an
Okay.
original part of, I'm so sorry. I thought it was about this specifically. It's a township garden. Anyone that's a resident in the township can become a member. That you have a designated raised bed where you can grow your own food, and then we have community spaces where you can sort of share in the bounty of like a large potato bed, and we have some beautiful pawpaw trees there as well, if anybody knows about pawpaw trees. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool
okay,
place.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry,
you.
I misunderstood.
Is the vegetable garden kept locked? Or
The
is it,
vegetable garden is kept locked, yeah,
So how
just
do
for
people-
members only.
so members only? How do you
Yeah,
become a
but
member?
so you become a member basically by signing up. So we do have an email site for the Skunk Hollow Community Garden. You email that person, which is me. I give you the information that's relevant for that stuff, and you sign a release that's a township release and a registration form, and you get started in the dirt. We have about 6 beds currently available, if anyone's interested.
Sounds good. And
So,
the area, I guess, where they built the berm,
yes.
maybe this is for Ricky, there's like a space of grass in between there, right?
Yes, and I can show you the berm, actually. Here's the original space of the berm. This is the north part of the fence of the community garden. Those sticks are where we put the berm, and that actually tapers down to that side. So when water comes onto the hill, it drains to the far side of the garden. And here's Ricky's team doing their work, and this is what it looked like, and here's what it looked like at the end of last summer. This is after we planted it out. We've got sunflowers and some really nice things, and here's the squash on the northern side of the berm. So
Ricky, is that the space above, is that needed by the Public Works Department?
The patch of grass above?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what needed, but I mean, it's used for the pumpkin patch. That's usually where the pumpkins go,
Okay.
so.
So
I
would there
mean,
be room to plant more trees there? Maybe some fruit trees or something as you come into the vegetable garden, kind of break
So,
it up?
again, I'm not no expert. I think potentially, yes. I think that whole, that whole open green grass space, especially the northern part of that piece, there are 2 large patches of essentially just brambles and some rose multiflora, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to probably put several very large trees right up against the forest sort of edge there. There's definitely an opportunity for that.
What about for the top part of the?
Yeah, around the woods line, I would definitely probably say there's a chance to do that. In the field, in the middle, I would probably doubt the Parks and Rec director would want to do that because the township does use that space for the pumpkin patch, and that's where the pumpkins are usually rolled out and spread around. But along the woods line, the perimeter, I wouldn't see a problem. Why not? Once
Yeah, the
you
marginal on
plant.
the northern part might be possible, yeah. Okay.
2 quick things. What's your email address for those that might be interested in becoming a member?
skunkhollowgarden@gmail.com.
Beautiful. And then one other item is, we did start our maintenance pilot back in '23, and we did clear out Abraham's Run, which is that lower waterway at the exit of the Willows. So we do kind of have somewhat of a framework to possibly bring in somebody to help, but likely something that we need to talk about. But
Yeah, and did you
certainly
say, though,
talk
that you'd
about it.
rather the community do that?
Well,
or-
I'd like to
or
have,
anything?
some of this stuff obviously is too big for just people to handle manually, right? We're talking, people with snippers who don't really know what they're doing. I mean, this is not like high-level folks. There's a few folks who can do it, but we tend to be a little older. We tend to have a little bit more difficulty physically doing that stuff. So we definitely need some,
Cool, okay.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of larger logs and trees that are fallen that need to be, wood chipped up. And I know there's some wood chip stockpiles there. I'm sure, we could add to that with this.
This would be a great project for the goats.
yeah, right.
That was Sarah's original
Yeah.
recommendation, which we tried and have not been able to get, but sounds to me like this would be a great one
Right.
for that too. So something to think about.
Could I make a suggestion to the board? I met with Francis and Marcia to just go over Skunk Hollow Garden and also pitching this idea to the committee here. The only thing I would ask is a collaborative effort between Skunk Hollow Garden and the committee that we pick a date that we can kind of make this happen because I think the township, we would be able to do some of the heavier lifting with some of those things, working along with John, and he can detail, what you might want to get out of there, what he feels like should also be removed out of there, and we might be able to get the bigger stuff out to help out, and then you would just have to have maybe a planning day. So just as an idea to kind of give it a little more, the Shade Tree Commission always kind of has like dates where they do stuff so they can get the biggest amount of support. So just a suggestion.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, we can, I think, talk offline and figure out some stuff and then go from there.
Great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
your
you
hard
so
work.
time,
much for
everyone. I
sharing
appreciate
this.
it.
Thank you.
All right, first, new grading permits, 50 Ferriston. Is anybody here for that?
Hello, Greg Lingo with Rockwell Custom.
Hey, welcome.
This project was approved through a subdivision from Valley Forge Military, so we're now just submitting a grading permit.
Okay, do you have the plans?
I do not.
I think there was some trees that were coming out. Are they already done?
It was part of the subdivision, yes,
So that was all complete?
yes,
Okay,
And there's no changes from what was prior approved to grading.
that's correct.
it's all the same. Okay, so we do this all the time. It's just a formality, I think. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'll make a motion to approve. All in
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Askin subdivision, 518 Askin. Mr. Spellman, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Patrick Spellman, Site Engineering Concepts. This is a minor subdivision plan for a piece of property that is on Askin Road. As you may know, Askin Road is a sort of a dead-end road that comes off of Brookside by Athen. The proposal is to create 2 lots from this one lot. And what we see here is the trees that would be taken out by the house footprint we currently have proposed, and the developments, which I'll show you on the next page. So this is lot 1 on this side. 6 trees would be impacted. This is lot 2 on this side. That's 25 trees. For lot 1, all the trees are under the 18 inches except for the one heritage tree. And then on this side, these are all under 18.
All right, nice, the table's on the next page.
Yeah.
With all the info.
Yeah.
And you had tree protection fence up there?
Yeah, so the tree protection fencing is this green line with the text marks on it, running along there. On this side for lot 2, lot 1, running along here. I also realized just now, I need it right there. So before you tell me, I'm going to draw it in.
Quickness.
So here are the replacement tables and the proposed trees for lot 1. Another thing I just realized, spatially this is wrong. These tables should be here next to lot 2, and these tables should be here next to lot 1. So hopefully it doesn't get too confusing. Again, showing the 6 trees on lot 1 being removed, requiring 6 trees to be added, and then the 1 heritage tree to be removed, requiring another 6 trees, 4 of them to be large canopies. So for a total of 12 trees needed, 4 of which should be large canopies. The table next to it here is showing the trees that we're picking, the 4 large canopy trees, beech, birch, honey locust, and a linden. And then lower part of this table is showing the remainder of the trees that we would be picking: the arborvitae, holly, sweet birch, and the dogwood. Excuse me. I want to point out the canopy trees. Here's the beech, the birch, the honey locust, and a linden in the back, and the rest of these are the smaller trees. And then for lot 2, again, 25 trees in the 6 to 18 range, requiring 25 trees to be replaced. What we're picking is 16 arborvitae. We're putting in a number of arborvitae to provide some shielding between the 2 lots. So most of them going on lot 2, a little bit of them going on lot 1. Then the balance being 3 hollies, 3 birches, and 3 dogwoods. And then there's street trees also required on each of these properties,
Salda, yeah.
which is the lower table. Yeah.
Gotcha. The heritage tree, can you show me where that is on the? Is that right in the middle?
It's right. It is right here.
And there's no way to see
No,
that?
I mean, the width of the lots don't really afford us a lot of opportunity to move it over. So here it is, actually. It's on this plan too. So there it is there. So we're not going to be able to move the house over. This is the build-to line right here. We're up against the build-to line there. And then moving it back just starts impacting more trees.
Okay. One other thing that I noticed, I'm not very familiar with the sweet birch, Betula lento, and maybe John or Jen knows more. What would like heritage be better? Yeah. Do you guys?
Always open to suggestions.
I think it's a great species. I mean, it's underutilized. I mean, you do find them
Which one,
sporadically.
Lento?
Sweet
Yep.
birch, yeah,
Yeah,
Lenta.
Good.
Great
Okay.
species.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Good job. Anybody else have any?
I have a question. How many total trees are on the lot?
Yeah, so that is also on these tables. So on lot 1, there are 41 trees
Okay,
total.
I see it, thanks.
Right, and
Yeah.
on lot 2, we have 63. So 104 total on the entire lot.
Okay, so you're removing less than 50% of
Correct,
the
right.
existing trees? Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
so there's the calculations right there on the table also.
Anybody else? Any questions? Nothing? Oh, I will make a motion. Oh, public comment, please? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Good evening. I've never used one of these. Good evening. My name is Patricia Talone. I live at 430 Ivan Avenue, and my backyard is adjacent to what will become lot number 2. I just would like to just point out 3 salient concerns that I have when I saw the plans today for the first time and saw that 25 trees were going to be removed. The loss of the hardwood forest, number 1, is of great concern to me because, but I understand, that is lot number 2. Lot number 2 won't exist unless that's cleared. But the environmental impact of deforestation is the destruction of habitat for at least 8 types of birds, I won't bore you with what kind, 4 mammals, and an occasional garter snake. It's also hunting grounds for a hawk, and we have the pleasure of the company of a red fox. The other point is, as you know, because you're on the Shade Commission, that trees provide oxygen for us, as well as clearing the environment of carbon dioxide. Let's see. And the last one is just the loss of, I've lived there for 36 years. I've been very spoiled. So the loss of a natural buffer and also just the beauty of having this forest, this woodlands. And when I heard just now the types of trees that are going to be replaced, 16 arborvitae, you know, it's not the same as the variety of hardwood trees, which I'm sure you're aware of. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Sorry, Villanova University. Jen, you're out.
Yeah,
Abstain.
I can't vote on this one, so don't count me as a no.
Got it. Hi, welcome. If you could just give us a little brief description of the project.
Sure. We have a PowerPoint we're pulling
Okay.
up. Might be a little bit easier with some of the context, but
Is
in
it
the
Connolly
meantime-
Center?
Connolly
Okay.
Center, yes. So I'm Mike Roth from Pannoni. With me tonight, I have Ken Hoffman. He's our landscape architect. Also with us tonight is Joe Ungaro. He's the project manager for Villanova University. And as you noted, we are here for the Connolly Center project.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure where the original plans are saved on the desktop here.
Ian, could we grab you? Thank you.
I just don't see the original plans. I see the PowerPoint presentation. That's the PowerPoint. I wanted the original plans, too.
Was that on the thumb drive you gave?
No.
Thanks, Ian.
Yep. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
All right, if you want to pull up, I guess, that aerial exhibit would be a good one to start.
Yeah, if you could show us the area, and is there any trees coming out?
Yeah, quick overview of the project. So this is for the Connolly Center. It's a little tough to see on the aerial image, but looking at the plan, Lancaster Ave is on the south side, campus is to the north of it. North of campus are the train tracks and County Line Road. The Connolly Center is sort of central to the campus off to the eastern side. There is a dash box around it, and our proposed improvements are on the north side of that building, which consist of two additions, or one addition in two parts, comprising of about 7,300 square feet of footprint. There'll be two-story additions, and really the purpose behind it is just additional lounge, activity space, office space within the building. That's a general overview of the project. I can turn it over to Ken to speak more specifically about the trees and
Yeah, if you could talk about which trees are impacted.
Sure.
If you have trees that you're protecting. in the
Yeah, so
process.
I don't know if you had a chance to review the plan or not. So as the plan came in, you know, as Mike said, we're bumping out the front of the building and adding in usable space. In front of the building, there was some trees that were installed as part of another project in 2014. There's some red maples that go out in front of the building there. The plan that was submitted was based off of survey that was done for the library expansion project. So what you're seeing is information that was provided as part of that project, and we kind of combined the two plans so you could get a general overview of what's going on with both projects combined. As the plan came in, there was 4 trees that we were proposing to have removed. Plan was submitted. I went out after plan went in, and I did a site walk, and I observed that some of the trees actually that we were proposing to remove weren't accurately represented on the plan. So I'm kind of here to walk you through the plan that was here, but really I want to morph more into what we're proposing to do. This plan showed the replacement trees. Because of the available space that's around the campus, I kind of had to spread them around in areas where I saw availability for planting. But upon inspection of the site, I actually found that the areas that I thought were available for planting was actually not available for planting. So I'm going to switch over to my slideshow.
It's 1 minute. That last plans that, was that existing conditions or?
That was both. It was like existing conditions combined with proposed conditions.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So a view looking at the front of the Connolly Center addition, the overview where Mike had already talked about where we're located. Again, the 2 little bump outs that we're doing with proposed additions. And so these are the trees that we're actually proposing to be removed. I have them labeled as T1, 2, and 3. They're maples, again, installed as part of another project back in 2014. The 4th tree was actually this tree here. And as I scroll down, the tree was labeled and surveyed as a single stem 24-inch. Upon inspection, it's actually a multi-stem dogwood. That tree was really throwing me into a larger requirement because of the size that was put on the plan. Because it's a multi-stem, it doesn't fall into the category needed for replacement trees. It's under 6 inches. So as we looked at what actual site conditions were and where I had things, I'll show you a little bit more. I had proposed a tree along this side of the building. Went out there. There's actually a very nice tree. I would prefer not to plant a tree in that location. As I ventured around a little bit further in the drop-off, I was proposing, a tupelo. It's actually a rain garden, so I don't want to be putting anything in the rain garden. There's storm systems that occur in there. Ventured a little bit further down. I was proposing some other trees. These were 3 dogwoods, and I want to add, all these plants that I was proposing were species that were proposed with the library expansion. I was trying to keep with the keeping of what they were proposing also. So I was trying to stay within the realm of what they were doing. But again, as I head down and I cross over the crosswalk, I noticed in this area, really, I didn't have any available space. Even this pocket here, which you think might be a really good area for planting, it's full of a bunch of shrubs. The other area you'll see is kind of a walkway where the kids walk through, even though there's walkways on both sides. It might be a little bit of drainage swale too. So my proposed revised landscaping is really, when I take out that larger tree, I only need 3 trees. And right now, the available area that I found was down in this lower area. Again, this is all under construction. The hatched area that you see that kind of looks like a stone is a gravel parking lot prior to construction. Current conditions right now, there's a trailer that sits in front of it. It sits kind of in this spot here. Right here is the pine that you're seeing in the foreground. So I'm proposing, and locations might shift a little bit of these, but proposing 3 dogwoods, which would meet my requirements. And I think is in keeping with, again, what's going on the campus, sort of keeping that area without a lot of shade trees, but it's a flowering tree and would add some buffering on the parking area. So this is really why we're here tonight. I know we came in with one plan, but as the plan came in, you know, we investigated and found out there was some holes in it. So tonight I'm hoping to seek that with what we've done and presented in front of you, you know, we could get maybe a recommendation with conditions. I prefer not to come back, but this is what would come in the next time.
So how many trees are coming out?
There's 3 trees
3
coming
trees
out.
coming out. They're all under
They're all in that 6 to,
18 range.
yeah, they're on the 6 to 18
And you're going to
range.
replace them with 3 trees.
Yep.
Okay. That all works out. This is on your, the landscape table or the planting replacement formula. That's not on the plan though, right?
It's on the current plan, and on the current plan, I have this table, but there was
It
one
is.
extra tree in the 19 to 29, because that was the
Gotcha.
24-inch tree, which is actually a small multi-stem dogwood.
Got it.
Right.
And then, is there any other trees in the limit of disturbance?
No, we will be keeping all the trees as shown on that plan, absent the one multi-stem tree that's coming down.
Do you have tree protection?
We have tree protection.
And can you just show that on the plan?
So I have to go back to wherever that other plan was. Yeah. Did I miss it?
Might be right.
Sheet 15. There we go.
Yes, I see that, yeah.
Can I ask if that dawn redwood is staying in between the 2 gray areas? It's
Dawn
about
redwood
17
is
or 18
staying,
inches?
yes.
Okay. I guess has the tree protection too.
The tree protection is shown on the red dogwood right here. And there's really no earthwork that's happening in between that area because it's just the buildings are coming out, so.
Where's the tree protection? I'm sorry.
The circles around the tree here.
And what size tree is that?
It's 18 inches from my 2022 survey.
Yeah,
18
and
inches?
I'm going to say the symbols that are reflected on the trees here doesn't necessarily reflect the canopy.
Okay.
You know, it's a block that kind of gets put in as the tree sizes are put in. So the computer just kind of makes it up a little bit.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if I might have a picture of that one on my slideshow. Of course, it's kind of
Tree
hidden.
protection.
Oh, there it is. It's right there.
Make sure they're protecting the other trees.
So you can see it's really, it's pretty small in diameter.
Okay, cool.
And there's already protection around it right now for the current construction that's going on.
All right. Anybody have any other questions?
The species proposed to go in, those were dogwoods, right?
Mhm.
3 dogwoods. There's no room for a larger canopy tree in that pocket?
I mean, there is room. It's a lawn area right now. There's ample canopy trees in and around the campus. I really wanted to keep it sunny.
Sure. Understood.
It's pretty wet over there, just because I work for Villanova and I did the tree inventory a while ago. Not a while ago, a couple years ago. Is there any, what do you guys think? Dogwoods, wet area? I know that the blue spruce over there is tiny. That was in one of the pictures. There's a cedar of Lebanon, a couple red maples. The willow oaks look metza that are along the road. I don't know how dogwoods do with wet.
Well,
There's that
and
rain
I
garden
should
feature you
say
can see in the aerials.
where the trailer is,
Yeah.
like that. When the trailer gets removed, I don't know what the conditions like underneath. the
Right, it's
trailer.
been wet since before the trailer was there, because that rain garden feature that runs just south of the parking garage is always pretty full.
Okay. That's where I'm proposing them, yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? We're going to have public comment for a second. Hi, welcome. If you could just introduce yourself and...
I'm Roberta Winters. I live at 326 Williams Road in Rosemont. And I had a couple of questions. And I know she just mentioned that there was a lot of wetness in some of those places. When we had asked questions about some of the other development at Villanova, we had heard that there was perhaps some headwaters of some of the streams on that side of the campus. And I just want to make sure with all this development going on that, you know, the headwaters of some streams and wetlands are being monitored. And I'm not exactly sure who does that. And the other thing I wanted to know is I'm really glad you're looking to see that Villanova is replacing the trees. And I was wondering if efforts were ever contemplated about replacing the arboretum that they cut down probably within the last decade on campus.
So I can speak to that because I work there. I've been trying. It costs money, and that's been my hang-up. So Hugh Weldon, the Hort manager there, and I have been working on this. I have this one I'm looking on my phone, a full inventory of the entire campus that I did with a bunch of students in 2022. So I've got every tree, diameter, species, heights on some of them marked. So we've been looking into this, but it's been a tough ask with money so far, and just my time is spread thin being a full-time professor, and Hugh's time is spread a little thin. So we would like to, but it's not going to be an immediate
Because the arboretum, I think, was cut down before 2022.
It wasn't cut down. We just lost status because we didn't reapply for some of the certifications, and we don't have enough trees labeled.
Well, I just recall seeing the timber on the laying along County Line Road as you looked to the left.
Yeah, that was before my employment there. If anything
Yes.
was cut down, I know there's constant removals from all the construction, but those all go through the process.
But I would hope that Villanova would try to replace that arboretum because it really was a loss. And we talk about trees and oxygen and wetlands and all those things and habitats. We really lost a lot in that neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we're certainly trying, and that part of campus is not headwaters to streams. West Campus, however, is. I do a lot of the mapping work for this too, so I feel like I have a pretty good handle. But I think that area, just because it's very grassy and there's a lot of pavement around, does collect water going down towards the SEPTA rail, so the elevation plays a role as well. And there is a rain garden feature right next to the parking garage, which is awesome. There's a couple red maples around there. So as much as I would love to personally see Villanova as a university do more for planting trees, they have made great steps with rain gardens, and I do appreciate their efforts there.
While you're speaking about rain gardens, would you please speak to sometime come to the Environmental Advisory Council? Because I had brought some issues up here about rain gardens in the Park and Rec Department. So please follow through on that, because I think that's something that Villanova could really help the township and
I just
and
gave a talk last
maintain.
week.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I will make an motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? All right. 4, Jen is abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good luck. Next up, we have 5D, 117 South Radnor Chester Road. Welcome back. If you could just introduce yourself and give us a description of the project.
Sure.
Please.
My name is Patrick Stewart, landscape architect, Stewart & Associates. And we were before you in 2019, 2020, somewhere in that range with a 3-lot subdivision for this property. It's now been transacted to a new owner, and it's a 2-lot subdivision. And we've prepared updated plans and submitted them. Replacement trees are fairly similar to what you approved previously. There's actually a few more on this plan. So Lot 1, 13 replacement trees are being provided. Lot 2, 18 replacement trees are being provided. Of those, 14 have to be canopy. The other 17 we're using evergreen species. And then we have a combination of hackberry, sweet gum, willow oak, hollies, arborvitaes, and Norway spruce.
Thank you. And can you just show us on your plans the tree protection for the other trees that are remaining? I did see
Somebody had a
one there,
nice
I believe,
pointer.
somewhere.
That's all right. So we have some tree
There you
protection
go.
in the back here. We have some tree protection around a few of these sassafras trees that are going to remain. And I believe
Near Radnor Chester Road, you have, I thought I saw some on there before.
some of those trees are up on that bank. We don't have any grading proposed in there, but I can talk to the engineer about, if
James,
we
you
think it's-
referring to the back bank before, where the trail is going to be extended?
No, along Radnor Chester Road.
Yep, got it.
Yeah, there are some trees along that bank there. The grading's really down below, but,
All right, and one of the sheets,
yeah.
what's that, John?
Slope,
Okay.
that's between that thing, so I don't think there'll be any,
won't be
you're
any.
not gonna have any equipment up there, that's for sure. And to be honest with you, most likely, and I'm speaking just on behalf of myself, I think with the planning stages for that trail improvement, I think there's gonna be some sight lines and some cutback in order to install that new trail system with the bridge underneath and all that stuff.
Gotcha, thank you. On one of the pages, it's says edge of woods, and I think it said to be removed, or TBR. I don't think it's this sheet, but it was a different sheet, maybe on the demo plan.
I don't have the full set with me tonight.
Do you have
But I
it?
did see, maybe it's in your agenda item, I could pull it up through that.
Edge of woods somewhere. Is anything being removed up there, on that hillside then?
No.
By Radnor Chester Road?
On Radnor Chester Road? No, it's really hard to see. They're pretty faint here. We lost it. But there are some trees that are going to remain along that bank along Radnor Chester Road. And we're kind of sprinkling some evergreens on the edge of that.
Can I ask a question? I keep getting booted out of the agenda packet.
Sure.
How many total trees are on the lot before any changes are being made? Do you have that number on here? And then,
We don't. We just have the trees that are coming out for each Lot 1 and Lot 2.
okay, so we do like to know the baseline of how many total trees are on the lot, because this is a subdivision.
Okay.
And then what percent of the trees being removed, what percent of the total is that?
It's not on your plan, the total trees? No.
Total for the whole site? No.
Yeah, for the whole site.
No, we just had the engineer may have it on one of his plans, but on our sheets, we just looked at the number of trees that were coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, only because that's an updated ordinance from the fall of 2024, so
Okay.
there's a clearing percentage now.
No
which
problem.
Puts you in either below 50 or greater.
No problem.
Which does have an impact to the amount of compensatory trees that you need. When were these plans originally submitted to the township? Do you know?
For the 2-lot subdivision or the previous 3-lot?
The 2-lot.
They were submitted, I believe, back in, I want to say late February. The engineer for the
Okay,
project
of
submitted them.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would be subject, the new ordinance was adopted October of last year. I did just do a quick count. It looks like there's around 70-ish.
I got 81 with the buffer along.
You the man. So,
We are taking out 14 trees.
okay, so you're well within 50%. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Anybody else have any questions?
I would ask if updated plans could be submitted with the total count, just for the record, as a contingency approval.
Anybody else? No? Oh, the species going in. It's on the plan.
Sure. Yeah, we're using hackberry, sweet gum, some Quercus willow oak, American holly, some arborvitae, green giants, and some Norway spruce.
Sounds good.
Public comment? All right, I'll make a motion to approve as long as the contingent upon updating the plan to have the number of trees on there.
Absolutely.
Pat, just a little chart, you could send it over to me, and I'll
percentage.
verify.
Yep.
Quantity versus do the
Sure.
math, and then the replacements and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Table
Was
block.
aware of that ordinance.
set.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for
Good
your
luck,
time.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna move in old business, the bare root tree planting. Seth, you were gonna
Yes.
do an update real quick?
I'm going to be Frank and Seth
There you
tonight. So a quick update. So as far as the park planting in the willows, we're looking to get as many volunteers as possible. We have 23 trees that we need to plant. So we're going to have Molly send out a call for volunteers here in the next couple of days. But everything is lining up for that. And then, James, I don't know if you want to give a couple of words around those additional trees that we're thinking of doing, and then I can talk
Yeah,
about
so-
the residential plantings.
The Boy Scouts, have you guys heard about the Boy Scouts project? I don't want to mess up his name. Neftali is going to be leading a project for his Eagle Badge, I guess it is called. And they're going to plant some trees. I was initially asked to get about $1,000 worth of trees from a vendor that I use, which was Pleasant Run Nursery. So I'll give them a shout out, because when I asked them for the trees, I estimated it to be about $1,000, and Carl, the owner, noticed that it was for the scouts. He decided to just give him the trees at no cost. That's great. So that's where it started. Then I believe there's going to be another donor, which we'll give a shout out to next month, because I'm not sure of what's going on there. But hopefully there'll be another sizable donation. So I think we, at a minimum, get 20 more trees that he's going to plant the same afternoon as our tree planting. And then he did offer to do some ongoing maintenance with watering and stuff like that as part of his project. So next month we should have a better idea of what actually got done and have better numbers.
Great. And for the record, the Willows planting is Saturday, April 12th. We'll start at 9 a.m. We'll have breakfast and lunch provided. It's a great day to plant a bunch of trees. And moving into the right-of-way planting, so we have a total of 73 trees, 23 are going to the Willows, 50 are earmarked for residents. As of right now, we have a lot more than 50 people that have signed up. So it is a first come, first serve. Those that will not get a tree in the spring, will be sure to send out a communication for the fall. The goal is to get those trees in the ground by the 18th. Very soon, probably this weekend, I'll send out staking assignments and a call for help to help stake residential properties. And then we did also get a few local businesses to help plant. If you give me 1 second, I can give a shout out to those that have committed. So this year we have Executive Tree Care, Shriner, Gerard's Property Maintenance, and then All Seasons is going to help, as well as the Township and John Hosback are likely going to help us plant a few as well, but I'll divvy out the assignments. Stay tuned. But everything's lining up as it normally does, and looking forward to another planting.
Very good, thank you very much. Anybody want to add any questions about that? Who's doing the food? Kristen, you are. Thank you very much.
Kristen's our food lady.
So everything's taken care of. You don't need help with anything?
Women are in the kitchen.
So are men.
Yeah.
Okay. All sounds good there. I'm going to move on to 6B, second tree, spring tree planting. I asked for this to be on the agenda. I contacted Frank Tate and the Director of Finance. He said we have about $49,000 in our as our balance. So I think we have plenty of money to plant more trees. Before the meeting today, John had mentioned that you were looking for more trees for the Willows project.
So, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so Ricky and I are talking, so we are gonna do that Miyazaki Forest. We're just gonna hold off on doing that. We're gonna prep it this summer, get the deer fence installed, get it all torn up, you know, and then do a fall planting with containerized plant material. Because we don't want to overlap. You guys got planting going on. You got the Eagle Scout's going to do his 23 trees. We have a lot of trees that we have to plant on the streetscape, so a lot of time will go on to that. And we can't, you know, rely on Public Works with all the mulching and everything they got going on.
Gotcha.
So it'll be a good project we can do as a volunteer to prep it. Ricky and his staff can get the fence put up, gives us time to prep, and in the fall, it's ready to go. And we can put a lot of time, effort, get a little kiosk, all that stuff made up for it.
Okay, so was that going to be in that back area?
Right.
So are we planting the 23 trees from the Willows?
You're still planting in the back area.
We're still planting them up there.
Absolutely, because we're that little pocket back there, only 100 by 100 was going to be the fenced-in area,
Okay,
which is going to be the trial area. The rest of the area is still going to be populated with new trees, so that we get that canopy coverage and restore that area to original woodland.
and Boy Scouts will still be planting up there.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, just on the Eagle Scout, I had just asked Eugenie if we could try to do a feature article on him and his project after, you know,
Yeah,
with
that's a great
photos
idea.
in Radnor News.
Mhm.
So Eugenie said she would.
It won't come out till the summer, but.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Anyway, since we have plenty of funds, I was thinking of doing a second planting. We could do it at the parks or residence. No, spring. Get it done. If we don't want to do you know, we can all volunteer. I have no problem if we want to get like 10, 20 trees. I'll plant them. But if we get a group together, if it's for a park, and we want to get a group to plant them,
Well, if we have so many people on the waiting list, can we not use some of the money to satisfy This tree plan?
That's fine, it's
street
just a
tree?
little bit harder to organize that
To
part.
implement, yeah.
Logistically, yeah, I would, where the train has left the station. Is that the saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we use the money in the fall to allow more people to take advantage? Instead of
What I would maybe suggest is, I love the idea of extra trees, but let's just try and do it all in the same day, because we're about to get a bolus of volunteers. And
Ooh, that's fine, we can do it all in the same
how
day.
many trees do you think we can get for that 3,000?
Depends, from our balance fund?
You were saying earmark $3,000 for trees, right?
Is
And
that
you're-
what everybody would want to spend? We could probably get about 20 or so trees. These would be containerized trees.
Container trees, so we could probably have the volunteers dig holes with shovels versus having to have Public Works dig holes for us. It's just, I guess the question would be, is there enough room up there to throw in another 20 to 30 trees?
And we'll already be there, so once John and Steve and Frank or whoever goes out to mark the stake the spots, I mean, once we go out, we get it done in a day, so it's not a big deal at all. The one thing I do want to ask, just to keep in mind, I think John has to get the price for the materials, but still doing his Misaki fence idea, we might want to make sure we have in your budget what that fence would cost, so you don't, you have some money left to be able to buy the materials to, put that in.
Any idea what that would cost? You're doing the same type of fence as on the West Wayne Preserve, right?
Not as nice, so we're just doing round timbers,
Uh-huh.
round, with the,
Put your mic on, John.
the round, just, pressure treated 4-inch posts with welded wire tacked to it, 8 foot.
How big of an area?
Say it again?
How big of an area?
100 by 100.
1040, 20, 800. So we need about 2,000 or 3,000 for the fencing. And our township putting it in?
Correct.
So there's no cost for labor.
I have another thought. If it's at the Willows anyway, and we have all this happening, which is great, is there anything we can then do for the Skunk Hollow Garden?
I think that
folks?
needs prep first.
Okay, I just didn't know
It
if
needs some
every
clearing and
resources
stuff.
are already there and we have some budget.
We could offer maybe a couple trees somewhere.
Okay.
But logistically, I think that's a little
Yeah.
tough,
Okay.
Well, I think if we can get approval to buy the trees, then we can plant them wherever we want at the Willows. So if there's room there, after we talk offline with them, then yeah, sure,
So
plant trees
to
there.
not give Frank an aneurysm, I would say let's get 20 additional trees, whatever that ends up being.
I'll say 20 trees, not to exceed $3,000.
I like that. I like
Sound
that.
good? Sound good, everybody? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to purchase 20 trees or less, not to exceed $3,000. There will also be a fee for delivery, but we can split the delivery cost with the Boy Scouts, since they're all coming from the
Okay.
same place. So delivery cost will be $275 per organization. Radnor Township, $275,
Not to exceed 3,000.
not to exceed 3,000. Do I have I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second this plan.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll all forget
And
it within an
we'll
hour.
need to get this approved by Bill White, right?
No, it's under 7,500, so they can,
Still
Ricky
need-
can do it, right? We're spending $3,000 from our fund. Do we need approval from anybody?
No. I mean, the requisitions go in and it'll get approved through
Through you.
Well,
You're
not
the
through
man.
me, but through, I'm one of the people, but yes, there's a couple
So it's not a
more.
problem. And Pleasant Run, you guys have purchased there before, so they should be on
Yeah.
your
No, that'll be
vendor
fine.
list.
The one thing I would like to ask is if you decide that you are going to move forward with planting the trees on top of the garden, you would like to do that, I would like to let the Parks and Rec director know, because that is a big area that she uses. So even though it'll be up to the top, just for communication purposes, I know John will go over and he'll stake it, but I would like to let her know once you know exactly how many trees you would like to see up there, and he says how many could fit in there, just so she can know if she may have an objection or two.
Gotcha. Seth, I know you have not much on your plate right now, but do you mind reaching out to the gentleman that was here? And then if he's good with it, contact Tammy
Yeah, I can
and
do
let
that.
her know.
Or I might delegate it to Frank, we'll see.
There you go. Sounds good.
That's what he gets for not being
Thank you,
here.
Frank. All right, so everybody approved that, right? Great. So let's move on. Thank you. Management of trees and the right-of-way, new business. So this was asked by the commissioners at the last, or second to last commissioners meeting. Do you remember anything about that, Ricky?
Yeah, Ian, I'm gonna come up to the podium. Could you turn the video on overhead, please? All right, just the genesis of where this came from. This is on under the trees removed by Radnor Township. You'll see one on there, 202 Run, excuse me. The 17 pines, locust, cherry, paularina that were removed. Just to jump ahead, we received a call from that resident. We had about 3 trees that fell from that address. And what happened is they had
Which one
reached
were you-
back
I'm
out.
sorry, I didn't.
I'm giving the background to how we got here to talk about street trees.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
I
Okay.
apologize.
Sorry.
So that's the genesis of why we're here to talk about street trees. Because when the amount that Raw's Run removal, those 20 trees, it cost over the amount that the township manager could authorize. So it had to go before the BOC in order for us to remove those trees. So one of the commissioners asked, well, why are we taking care of street trees and are we going to replant? So of course, we're replanting, and he felt, well, if we're taking them down and now we're putting them back, we're then gonna have to take care of them again. So why are we involved with that? And my answer was, it's part of the ordinance. So that's what's in front of you now. They asked, well, could the Shade Tree Commission look into the ordinance regarding street trees? So that's just the part from the ordinance 263. I highlighted 2 of the parts that kind of allow the township to have a say-so in what happens to the street trees. That first part under maintenance of street trees, I'll put it all up there for you. Number 1, it basically says that those street trees are under the care solely of the Township of Radnor. And if you look on to the next page under C, it doesn't give anyone the right to do anything to a street tree.
Can I ask?
Sure.
How are we defining street tree in the definitions in the ordinance? Is everybody on the same page?
Yeah, it would be within the right-of-way. So we have every
Defined
road.
as how many feet? What is the right-of-way,
It's a different number for each road.
depending on the type of roadway that it is?
Yeah, the only roads that we don't take care of are state roads. And the
Okay.
state has their own right-of-way.
Okay.
So every road has a right-of-way. The
Okay.
only ones that we don't are maybe a private road. But I can't say that West Wayne Avenue is 20 feet from the center, and that's not the same for another street. Like
Okay.
Poplar, Woodland, they're all different. So whenever a resident calls, we look at the list, and it gives us the measurement for each
Okay.
road.
Okay, but it is clearly defined in the ordinance, just for the record.
What a street tree is.
Correct.
That part, I'm not sure. That might have to be. I don't know if that's in a particular part where it says that, so I would have to look, and not really sure.
Okay.
It's kind of an unspoken, thing when it comes to, dealing with the trees, how we go about getting that information to determine what is a street tree, or at least the right-of-way part of it.
Okay, that might help.
Sure. But that's basically it, and they just wanted the committee to, have their say-so in regards to that. Some of the objections that I said in favor of continuing to maintain the trees that are in the right-of-way is because if you would imagine what would happen if we just let some of the residents take care of their own street trees. There would be, I'll just say, a little more chaotic. So these rules kind of help keep us in line with being able to manage the street trees. Also, when it comes with dealing with hazardous situations, when there was a part before we changed the ordinance of dealing with trees on private property, there was a way we went about trying to do that. And the part for me that was a little bit uncomfortable was I had to go knock on a door and basically tell them they have to spend set amount of money and they had a certain time in order to do that. So you could imagine if now we kick back the street trees to them, it would be the same process all over again. I would still be involved, but now it would be more of a legal matter if they don't act in a certain period of time. So with that being said, I was like, well, I'd rather keep doing what we're doing just because it allows the township to, you know, take care of the situation. And the other part that's a little unfortunate is when we do go out and measure a tree and it's not in the right of way and we let the residents know that, a lot of times the tree still stays there. You know, so it does give us an opportunity to, you know, keep the safety of those trees that are hazardous and the ones that aren't, you know, kind of left alone. But that was a little bit of the genesis that would happen at that meeting.
Got it. So I thought there was actually more to it. I thought they wanted to know if township would do more, but it's only about taking care of trees.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Okay.
if we should even be involved in that. They
Gotcha.
wanted to know what
And
you
just
felt.
to, any tree on any public property or public street or highway in Radnor Township.
That's it?
That's the definition. And public property would be the right-of-way, I
Mhm.
believe,
Which is
even though it's on
variable?
somebody's property, on a deed, it is part of
Yeah,
public property.
it's
I believe.
it's private. The right-of-way allows the township to go in to remove a hazard, or if a sidewalk needs to be put in, or there's any work that needs to be done by the township, it allows us the right to be able to do it. We can only go in that far.
Gotcha. I would make one suggestion when
Sure.
anything comes up with any one property where 5 or more trees are coming down, that it should go before shade tree, just so everybody knows about it beforehand. I think it would be better optics than not going before shade tree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. That
Just like any resident would have to do.
Okay.
So
Is
that
that-
would be a suggestion from me.
So, Ricky, to clarify, what you're presenting to us, this is the ordinance as is, right? No changes. And this is really, the Board of Commissioners' concern was really relinquishing township control of street trees to residents, right?
Yeah, one of the commissioners had asked if we should be involved.
Sure.
In that, and that was the question. And then, you know, the commissioner, Commissioner Coates, who was on there, he was given the task of putting this before you
Sure.
as a
So-
committee to get your opinion.
What I would say to this is, I think it should stay as is, and I think, you know, a lot of commentary, and even in the comprehensive plan feedback that we've gotten from residents, everyone feels that the township should do more for street tree care and other tree care. And also, I agree with some of your statements around, rather than having one entity manage all of these, then you're relying on everyone else. And it is a safety issue. We've had plenty of occurrences where, you know, there's a tree next to a bus stop, a tree next to a park, and it needs to come down, and you guys always swiftly act. So I'd hate to see that go away. But I think this is just a good start to a conversation that we've been having for a while now, which is, what does maintenance look like for trees in Radnor Township? But I wouldn't make this any less lenient than what it is today.
I would respectfully disagree. I think there should be less township involved in this. I think it's just way too expensive, but that's my own belief. Sidewalks, if there's a problem with the sidewalk, that's still in the right-of-way. Township does not fix that. The homeowners have to fix it. I know there's a difference, but I think it should be left to a homeowner to take care of their trees. If there's a, and this happened here maybe about 7, 8 years ago, there was a tree on Conestoga Road that was hanging over the road, and the township was going after the homeowner to have it removed, forcing them to sue them or something like that, to have it, something done. So not every resident is getting the benefit because they live on a state road. So, plus I don't think that project, I understand, I could go by every street tree in the township and probably find something wrong with it. Street trees are gonna be up against asphalt. The ones that are causing a hazard usually are probably 50-plus years old. So they've been growing in terrible conditions, road salt, everything else. So I think every tree over 50 or 60, maybe people would disagree, but you're going to find some sort of hazard with them. If the township took care of every hazardous tree that people called up, taxes would go through the roof. And I don't think a lot of people even know that township is taking care of some trees if people ask for it, which you're supposed to. That's the ordinance. So you guys did nothing wrong. But I think it should be, just my own personal feeling, moved away from there and brought to the residents.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, and again, it's up to the committee to point in a direction of which way to go. If you look at some of our neighboring townships, they either have their own tree crew or there is no right-of-way if they don't have a tree crew. So that's the difference with us. We have a right-of-way. We don't have the capability to put a tree crew in place. It would cost millions of dollars, not only in staff, but also equipment. Other townships surrounding us, Lower Marions, Haverfords, they have that. And multiple tree crews, not just one, a truck and a chipper, they have a crew. So the other part is that would separate us with that regard. But, you know, whatever the commission decides in regards to moving forward, I'll definitely make the, you know, put that towards the board so they can see what the recommendation of this committee would be.
Playing devil's advocate for a second, let's say a hazardous tree falls onto a street and that property owner doesn't take care of that tree. At some point, cops are going to be called, township's going to get involved, and likely the township's going to have to remove the tree anyways.
What's their liability at that point?
To clear the road. But administratively, then all of a sudden you have hundreds of cases every year where the township's trying to recoup money from property owners, there's legal fees, there's same thing that you were dealing with during, you know, the private property issue, similarly, right?
Well, I understand that, but if a tree falls on from house A to house B in Pennsylvania, and I think, John, you can let me know if this is true or not, house B, even though it's not their tree, has to clean it up because it's their property. So I assume if a tree falls on the road, it's a responsibility at that point for the township to clean it up. It's not the responsibility of the homeowner. So they have to do it anyway. I think one of the real issues is going to be liability that somebody will bring up. If you have a hazardous tree in the right-of-way, somebody calls the township, they say, you have a hazardous tree, and the township says, well, it's not our problem anymore. The tree falls and hurts somebody, township will say, or whoever it is gets hurt is going to sue them, the township, because they didn't take care of the tree, which has happened before. And even though whether it's hazardous or not, if it falls on somebody, you're going to get sued no matter if it's your responsibility or not. So I don't think that even comes into play, even though some people will bring that into play. So
I just want to say, I think this is important, and it's also, I think, a little complex, and I would love the opportunity to get more information, a little bit more clarity. You referenced, which was really helpful, some other townships, what they do. I would like us to be able to take into account some of that data and information, and it is. I mean, it's important.
There was
See
no,
many sides.
Definitely.
I don't feel like
prepared to vote on anything
I don't
yet.
think we're voting on
No,
anything.
I
No,
mean-
this was just to
Yeah.
introduce
Open
it to
up
you.
a conversation
Yeah.
maybe, right?
Whenever you
It's
feel
a-
like you're ready to make a
Yeah.
decision as a group, you might want the other two members here.
Right, yeah,
to do that.
exactly.
So
Sure, yeah.
that's
And Kristen, I
completely
did,
up to you.
about 5 or 6 years ago, I think before Ricky was head of Public Works, myself and Matt investigated what it would cost to start a tree crew in the township. And I spoke to Dan Wentz. I don't know, do you know Dan Wentz? He's head of the
No,
trees
sir.
at Haverford Township.
Okay.
He's head of that department. I spoke with him. I got what their budget was,
Mhm.
which is going to be completely different now. I spoke to the Lower Marion arborist, talked to them, and it's crazy amount of money, you can imagine.
Mhm.
So, but all of that
Yeah,
could be helpful
yeah, it
to make a
definitely, for sure.
good decision for everybody.
Yeah.
I
would
agree.
like to-
Ricky, do you have an idea of a ballpark of per year, how many residents take issue with a right-of-way tree causing property damage or safety issues on their property versus the street, if you will?
So I know that I got 73 calls last year.
Okay.
And I looked it up before because I did a slideshow for somebody else on it.
Yeah.
And in Radnor, 73 calls regarding either Steve Ledgerton or Ricky calling me saying, hey, right-of-way tree issue, whether it's pruning or removal, there were 73 calls.
Okay.
Valid calls.
But in regard, was that, or you asked about damage?
Yeah, so 73 calls, which those trees could have fallen or not fallen at that point, right? But yeah, actual damage where the township has to get involved with, compensation or,
Oh, yeah, that, I mean, not too often. To explain how the process works when we do get a phone call, or even the park supervisor would notice a tree that just looks bad, or whatever it may be, John comes out, he assesses the tree, he gives us a timeline. So some trees are immediate, and we have to act that way, and some there could be, well, you don't have to take this down for a year. These trees that you will look at on 202 Rawls Run, they were assessed a year before we actually took them down. And the resident actually reached out and said, hey, the year's passed. So that's the timeline that we go by, is whatever timeline the township arborist gives us. So while I don't have an issue at all with the suggestion of bringing it to the Shade Tree Commission to say, hey, we have these trees, it's more than 5, there is the object of safety if he gives us a timeline where it has to be taken down, ASAP. So that would be the only thing, and if that happens, we would notify you beforehand, just to put a caveat, but I don't have an issue with, you being notified
Yeah, and
beforehand.
I think this is the first time we've had over 5 trees at one time.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's going to happen very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Not to the way this looked. I mean, this was a completely here today, going tomorrow. It was a bit of a shock to the residents about that situation.
Yeah, and I'd much rather see the money go somewhere else. I mean, 17,000, we could feed a lot of people with that money. Seriously. I know trees need work, but let them fall over. And
Yeah.
there's 120 families in Radnor Middle School that we're trying to help with food during the spring break. It's a lot of money to spend. I think township should give that money back, help people.
So I have a question.
My thoughts.
If you kick maintenance of street trees to the residents, John, do you think you'll see that call volume increase for any little, I'm going to call it a perceived hazard because some of them may not be actual real hazards. Do you think that volume of calls will go up if people now have to take responsibility for their own street trees and might be liable? That's going to shift more work onto you about calls, what to do with it. I'm worried.
1,000%.
Yeah, what I'm worried is if people are responsible for their own street trees, certainly not everyone's going to do this, but I think we're going to see a lot of requests to take those trees out so they don't have to worry about them. Then we're going to lose canopy, and a spatial trend will start to appear where we're getting trees backing away from our streets. Terrible for rainwater control, runoff. We need canopy over the streets in order to, we can't concentrate the canopy away from our pavement. That's ecologically not good. that's kind of my fear, is we'll slowly, it won't be instantaneous, but we'll see this pattern of street tree creep away if people are responsible for their own.
You're on the mark. And we found a little trend, it was, I guess, 2 summers ago. We had some calls regarding some safety pruning and hazards, and all of a sudden, we were getting like multiple calls in like a day and that week regarding the same area. And what they were doing was, they were calling each other saying, hey, if you want to get your trees removed or cleaned up or pruned, these are right-of-way trees. So it was just trickling down the line. And we were looking at trees that were perfectly healthy, didn't need any, management or mitigation. But it's something that people, like you said, it's just going to compound.
I don't think most residents are aware of it as it is. I was not aware of this. I always thought that all of the trees on my property were my own responsibility, even if they were dangerous. And I did hire people to come to take them down. I didn't even know it. Well, I always thought that, so I
Well,
don't
I mean,
know
that,
the
to explain,
impact, that's all.
I guess a little
I
bit
don't know
of
what they
of a pet peeve, it's kind of weird. Those trees on your property are your trees. It's just the maintenance of those trees does not belong to you for the street trees.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
That it was my responsibility.
Yeah, and it's for the reason that Jen mentioned.
And that's
Because
the problem in Philadelphia. They offer these free trees to plant in front of people's houses, and they're like, we don't want them, we can't afford them, we can't take care of them.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. It's legitimate. Yeah.
John, does the state have any ordinance like this? Do they have to take care of trees in the right of way?
They do not.
They do not. So we're not
They-
seeing.
So they're practically immune to any damages.
So if I have street trees, I'm on a state road, I can take anything down I want?
Now, you still have to get permission,
Yeah.
but they never deny you.
From who?
PennDOT,
From PennDOT?
that's a state road, yep.
Gotcha.
But PennDOT would be responsible if that tree fell on the road. They would have to clear it, right?
They'll clear it up, but I mean, if it hurts somebody, there's, they have that immunity level. So if there's damages, it's really tough to recoup those.
Actually, Radnor will clean it up, because you would
Yeah,
get there
I mean,
quicker.
that's what we do. That
That's
is a
what you do now.
benefit of living in Radnor. Like, we do work with the state if there's an issue.
You guys get it done.
Yeah, it's like we
And
can
county
react
roads,
faster than
too,
they can.
right? And county roads as well.
Yeah, whatever it is within the township. Like, we're in contact with the vegetation crew from PennDOT. So, there's issues even the same that we have at our level, where people want them to take care of trees. They have the same issue that they face. So I've been brought in on some of those phone calls on some of the roads that people want the state to react and do something. And if it's out of their right of way, it is not their responsibility. But yeah, I mean, this is not something that, you need to make a decision on tonight. This was just the introduction to you. So, I mean, it could stay on the agenda 2 other times until you feel comfortable enough to make a decision that has to be brought back to the Board of Commissioners. And if you have someone that would like to show up and speak to it and be hammered with some questions, that would probably be even better.
Well, thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah, no
Ricky,
problem.
Ricky,
Thank you for your time.
Bringing this up. Does anybody want to head up any research, or just do it privately on our own to make decisions? Does
I would
anybody?
say let's mull it over, and then,
Yeah.
we can't have any more than 2 or 3 of us
Yeah, at a time.
together because of sunshine to
Mhm.
make any specific recommendations, but we can knowledge gather, and then next meeting, maybe
We'll put it on there.
make a decision.
Yeah, or even just share a round list of questions that we have or things we would like to know.
How about we all present something next month if you have a question or have
Some of the things we
information?
would like to know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And then hopefully Ricky has the answer, or John, and
Yeah.
if not, I'm sure you'll find it, and then go to the next meeting. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great idea.
Can we take, anybody else? No. Public comment for this? Anybody have public comment? Hey, welcome. If you introduce yourself and have at it.
Good evening. My name is Sung Park. I'm resident of 207 Birds Run Lane, and he's.
And I'm Seth Rubin. I'm resident of 211 Rawls Run Lane.
Yeah, we just came here to recent tree removals, like 17 trees on our street. So first of all, we want to mention about we didn't receive any notifications, like whether those trees are going to be removed or not. The owner of the 202, he just decided to remove and then requested the township to remove that. So we don't have any information. So that was the first thing we want to say first, because I think at least we need to know before all the trees are removed, because those trees are really the good aesthetic values in our neighbor, but without any consultation with us, our neighbors. Just one day, just township came here and then just removed all the trees. That makes our feels really upset. I mean, especially wives.
And a little bit of context here. That lot, 202 Rawls, used to be a wooded lot, provided a lot of privacy, sound barrier, canopy for the neighborhood. And to build that house, the lot was essentially clear-cut of almost all the trees on the lot. And what was replaced were small ornamental trees that really didn't make up for what was taken out. And I was surprised, I think we were all surprised as residents living in the township with the Shade Tree Commission protecting the canopy, that the lot was almost clear-cut with very little put back. And then, like Sung said a couple of weeks ago, the remaining tall trees that were in that right-of-way area were just completely removed. Those were healthy trees. When you look at what they look like on end, there was no rot in the trees, and they were just all taken down. And it has substantially affected the neighborhood to have the whole lot cleared and all those remaining 17 trees cleared with no clear, like we didn't know what was happening, and we're not sure what's going to be done to restore the canopy of the neighborhood, which is what I thought Radnor's priority was, to protect and restore the canopy. So we're just here to express our concern and to find out what Radnor is going to do to restore our neighborhood.
May I ask, I guess, a counter question? I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. I looked up the records for the property where all the trees were removed, historic records, and I did not see any record that ever came before the shade tree. So you're saying that they had clear-cut the lot. I saw no record of this at all.
Do you know what year the house was
Yeah.
built?
Do you have any more information on when you said in order to develop it, they clear-cut it? Because I didn't find any records for that.
I will admit that when I say clear-cut, that's maybe different than what other people in this room, but it was a fully wooded lot, and now it has a house with grass all around it with small trees. So please make your own judgment about whether it was clear-cut.
I'm curious, because
The
I do
house
want
was built,
to look
believe,
it up.
in like 2012, 2013, 2012, 2013.
Okay.
Sorry,
last year.
Sorry, 2022, 2023 is what I meant to say. Within the last 2 years.
It was, this gentleman's correct, it was a total clear cut.
Interesting. I couldn't find any record of that. Okay.
And you know, one of the saving graces was those 17 trees that were removed. And now the whole neighborhood has dramatically changed, and the canopy is gone. And like I said, like Sung said, we had no idea that this was going to happen, and we don't have any idea what's going to be done to restore the canopy in that neighborhood.
Rick, do you want to speak on behalf of the proposal that was sent in from All Seasons and that you'll be discussing with the board? So we did contact a landscape contractor who works within the township, and they are going to be restoring that canopy with shade trees, understory trees, to give you guys a little screening to the property. And I believe it's going to go when to the board?
No, it's below the number for the board. We just have to take it out of the fund to pay for it. But it's 7 large canopy and 4 understory trees. And that went before the board. They asked the question about what we're doing to replant. So I'm sorry, I apologize. The one thing that I do want to touch on, so everybody, I'll repeat everything I said. So it's 11 trees, 4 understory, and 7 large canopy trees. If you want the list, I can get your emails and I'll send you exactly what we're going to put in. And that's to the specifications of what the township arborist said can be put back in there. Those white pines, the way they grow in comparison to a large canopy tree, that's all you can fit back in there for that. In regards to the reason why the neighbors weren't notified, we put out a notification the day that we're going to remove the trees. So anything impacting. So what I would suggest is if you didn't get the notification, it's because you probably didn't sign up for it. So please go on the township website. You can select notifications and phone calls, emails, the way that we communicate with the residents, that's how the residents get it. Other than that, we're not going to go around and put letters in mailboxes. We don't do that. Like, people will do that. So it's not to be rude, but it's just we can't, operate in that capacity.
Ricky,
Totally understand that. I think the concern is, even if we had been notified that morning, on that day, it's still a dramatic change to our neighborhood and the shade, all those healthy trees being removed. I mean, hearing about it that morning would really not have met the concern.
Yeah,
right?
I agree, and I think that's the part that James and the committee is probably talking about, where maybe revisiting a number of trees to be removed.
I'm sorry, were they healthy trees? You just mentioned they were healthy trees. My understanding was they were considered hazardous trees, which means they were evaluated by a township arborist.
That's correct.
We have pictures of the trees after they were raised, that show, the trunks on end, and they look healthy.
Well, here's what I was going to say earlier about notification, and I'm just a resident as well. If somebody were to reach out to the township and say, I'm concerned that this is a dangerous street tree, it's going to fall, the process would then be that a township arborist would be sent out to make a professional determination about it. And in a situation like that, of which there are many, nobody's notified, a neighbor is not notified of that because, right? But so when you just said healthy trees, I was confused.
They seemed like healthy trees, especially when they're down on the ground and you can see inside of them and they're not hollowed, they don't look rotted, it looked like healthy wood. I totally understand if a tree is deemed unsafe, it needs to be taken down. This was 17 trees, totally changed,
Right,
like
no,
what
I'm
I said, and
totally
it's
understand.
In the context
Yeah.
of, like what you said, like you weren't aware that even if that lot had ever been evaluated by the Shade Tree Commission and it was clear cut. So we just feel like over the course of 3 years, a very large number of trees have been removed, and we're surprised as residents of the township that this would be allowed to happen with very little put back.
And also, we didn't even know what was the assessment by the township arborist about those 17 trees. We had no information about that.
Well,
Yeah, so I'm going to chime in here. I agree. I understand the 17 trees coming down in one day, and I think that's why I suggested that anything or whatever it was, it's a lot. It's a lot of trees in one day. I'd be concerned as well. And I think that the process should be that even though they are deemed hazardous, that with a number of trees over 5, that the township put it to a shade tree meeting first to get the word out, even though the word was out because it was on the Board of Commissioners agenda, but who looks at that, right? So the word was out probably a month before. It's just how do you get the word out to everybody? Maybe we can start sending letters out to residents on a project like that, and the shade tree could actually do that and say, hey, these trees were whatever, they're coming down, come to our meeting.
I respect the opportunity to be here and talk with all of you, but I think that we could imagine that if 17 trees are going to come down on a street and there are 5 or 6 houses on that street, it wouldn't be unreasonable to make sure the residents of that street are aware that those trees are coming down. I think that's
why I
different
said
than
that, yeah.
notifying the whole township that those trees are coming down. We're talking about 5 or 6 properties.
That's why I said we should notify you guys, and you can come to the meeting then, and the trees are discussed. Then at least the residents know that the project's going to happen. There's other projects that the township does. They're huge projects, maybe on Lancaster, and they'll put signs up actually and say, so with any other residential removals over 5 trees, we need to get the word out. And I think it wasn't done this time. It wasn't done this time, and it should be done next time, and I agree with you. But the healthy tree part, I will say, John was there, he assessed the trees, and the trees would be considered hazardous. I'm a certified arborist as well. I don't have my track certification, but I know the kind of damage that those trees would do. And I believe that trees have already fallen down on that lot, 3 on the road.
That's true.
So trees have fallen down. We know they're a hazard. Even though the trunks, and I saw the pictures, look good, it's not the trunks that are falling, it's the roots that are probably giving way. And it's a street tree. There's probably not much there. It's a pine tree. They're catching all that wind. So there's a hazard there. And that's why it was done. It wasn't, I think, done out of badness. We didn't know about it. But I think that it came to our attention. There's a process that we should start by certain number of trees. Let's get the residents aware of what's going on. And if it goes to the shade tree, and if I'm on the Shade Tree Commission or any of these folks are, I'm sure we'll all reach out to the residents to let them know that this is going to happen.
Thank you for that, and you know, I wouldn't stand here and question the expertise that you have about the trees, but I think it's 2 parts, one which you addressed, and the other piece of this is the dramatic change to our neighborhood as a result of what happened on the lot and then a couple of years ago, and now what has happened to these 17 trees. And I appreciate that 11 trees are going to be restored, but it doesn't feel like it quite matches what's been removed. And I guess one of the things we're wondering is whether there can be additional trees placed in the neighborhood in addition to the strip, where I understand there's a limit to how many we can put, but can we do something more to restore more trees to this neighborhood that has essentially been clear cut?
Do you guys have room on your properties to plant trees, like around the road? Or do you know neighbors that want trees and could plant them?
I think that might be a possibility. I wouldn't want to speak for a neighborhood like that, but I mean, that might be a possibility. But one thing we wonder is, you know, on the lot where the trees came from, could more trees be put on that lot?
Right, because those 17 trees were really big trees, and then the spaces are pretty wide and big. So even if we plant like 11 trees, it's not going to cover like the spaces. So we want more like trees planted over
in the lot.
I understand.
Where they originally had come from.
Well, they would have to be, I would imagine, planted in the right of way. You can't go on somebody's property and plant trees if they don't want them. Do you know what type of trees are going in?
There's maples, red maples going back in, yellow wood, and fringe tree. And, you know, unfortunately, there's a couple different variables with this project. There's utility interface underneath the ground, okay?
On that side?
Correct.
Okay.
There's also, those pine trees were planted on like 9-foot centers, where they should have been planted on 25-foot centers, okay? We won't go into all the tribulations and defects, but there was a lot of root decay that was observed. Ricky was on site. It could have been a little bit from compaction when they were building the home. There was a little bit of overgrading. 4 of the 17 removals, and I'm sure James and Jennifer, you've seen this before, where other trees coming from that property totally girdled. So there were some Polonia trees on the property, and the roots actually got up around the pines and totally girdled them, which ultimately caused 2 of the 3 failures previously of those pine trees. So that couldn't be ignored. We had to remove those trees and condemn them. The root decay was so excessive that we couldn't allow. We were trying to figure out what can we do? Can we do some reduction? And again, one of the big issues, and James, you'll know this, and along with Jen, pines cannot withstand salt, okay? And if you looked at those trees very closely, and I believe you referred to those trees as being healthy, they were far from healthy. Our job as the township is to preserve trees. It was a very hard call to condemn those trees. They had very much stunted growth. In the last 5 years, they put on about 1 inch of growth, which is really, really marginal for a white pine, Pinus strobus. So our job was to evaluate, look at the long term, look at previous failures, look at wind exposure, look at the removal of the previous house that once those trees that you spoke of in the beginning of your presentation, They were cleared. They're no longer providing protection for those trees. And our mitigation plan to restore the benefits is based on putting trees in the right place and let them reach their maximum benefit. So it's easy to say, put more trees in, but strategically, logistically, and by textbook, you don't want to do that because we don't have the same problem 25 years down the line. We want to put a tree in, let it reach its full maximum benefit, provide that large canopy, and then have your understory below that. So over time, and I'm not saying it's going to happen with the initial planting, but in 4, 5, 6 years, you'll start seeing momentum gained where that benefit will start to bring back parity, if that makes somewhat sense to you.
Just wondering about the time frame for replanting?
Time frame is once Mr. Foster gives me the green light, I will contact the contractor and he'll be on it like that because he knows the sensitivity with it.
Yeah, right now, requisition's been entered, so we have to wait for it to be approved. Myself, township manager, there's 3 steps internally it has to go through. So once that's done, we'll talk to John, and he'll talk to the contractor, and we'll get it moving. So,
Honest, so that homeowner who lives at that property is not managing this project, okay? If you would like, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to meet you pre-planting. I'll give you the idea where they're going. If you want to adjust for some sort of benefit, I'd be happy to hear your story.
And I do also see, so for our spring street tree planting, 205 and 211 Rawls Run are earmarked for street trees to be planted. And also this fall, we'll be doing a planting, and we send out a communication. So if you can gather up people on your street, to sign up for the fall planting, we can also offer, those are completely free. They're 8 to 12 foot bare root trees. They're pretty substantial, big trees, lots of different species that we have available. And we have our great volunteer tree service and landscape companies that come out and plant them free of charge.
Can I give you one last tip? I think on our website under Agenda and Minutes, you can actually create an RSS feed for your street so that you will get notified when anything's published on your street. When anything on the township's sort of agenda and minutes, you can create an RSS feed, which basically means it'll scan for, let's say you put Rawls Run Road, and then you'll get like a batch, I guess, once a week, whatever you want, for anything that happens. So that might be something useful for you. Thanks.
Thank you for the time to talk about it. Helping explain things. Very important.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any public comment here?
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Paul Whistle, and this is my wife, Deb. We live at 214 St. David's Court. St. David's Court, if you go to the way back of Radnor Crossing, there's a big hill up there, and there's a few houses up there, and we're one of those houses. Interesting, in the old maps, it was called Tulip Hill. It's one of the high points of Radnor. We're here to get your advice. We have some safety and tree preservation concerns. We want to know if we present things to you in a certain way later, are there any gaps in what we're going to present that you say, well, I want to get this and this and this, so we can do a better job.
Another reason we're here is because of the scheduling between the zoning and the Shade Tree Commission. We've already been before the zoning board. And they were not interested
I'm sorry, could you speak in the microphone just so the audience can hear, if there is any?
Could you turn on the...
Can you repeat your address for me, too, real
Sure.
quick?
214 St. David's Court.
Thank you.
We've already appeared before the zoning board with an arborist, and we're told that
public comment presentations, all the people in the public comment had to be residents of Radnor, which we thought was strange. However, they said tree commission, shade tree commission, forcefully. So that's why we're here tonight. We would like some advice. We have a safety concern about a potential construction project happening at 514 Midland Court.
This is the current location, the current design. This plan has been submitted to Radnor, and it was reviewed last week for the first round through the zoning board, and we showed up there with our neighbor as concerned citizens.
Just real quick, did you say it's happening right now?
It's been before the zoning commission.
No, but no construction activity is occurring, correct?
Correct.
No.
Okay.
So this is their plan. Right here, this is our house here.
We back up to this.
We back up to this, and this is what they're proposing. They want to have the what is it called? 2-foot setback, is it called?
Right. This is kind of a 10 pounds of flour in a 5-gallon sack. This is this is a very small lot. They are currently at 40.4%. What would you call it?
Apparently
Impervious.
Impervious coverage.
They have a wooden, what do you call it, a retaining wall here and 10 feet from our property line. And what they like to do is have a stone retaining wall all the way through, a 2-foot pack up, and then a pool that's 10 feet back. So that's what they're proposing, and the zoning board heard that. So why are we here with trees? If you look at this property line right here, this is our property line here. We had a remodeling done a few years ago, and the survey company came and did a full survey. So this is the same property line we just talked about here, and here is our property with the trees. You know, I'd have to say that we came here before just to find out what it looked like. And Mr. Kalansky and today Mr. Forrester gave us some, great conversation, good advice. One of the things that Mr. Kalansky recommended was, you have an opinion about trees, but an arborist would really have a professional one. So we hired Brandywine Urban Forest, and they came to our house last week. Michael Dunn, you may know him. And he gave us a report, and I think I've sent that to you by email early today. But this is his report. Now, one thing he did, and you've probably seen more of these than we have, is he created an impact zone, which is where do the roots of these trees go? And if you do the construction, what were the roots? So again, these are our trees. And here is the setback area of 10 feet, and the roots go through there. I don't think a picture would do justice of these magnificent trees. But Mr. Dunn put in here the size of the trees. The one my son calls Big John is a Norwegian oak, and the BPH is 52. We think it's about 70 feet tall. But it's the biggest, but it's not clearly the only biggest. We have others that are 60 feet, 50 feet, and they're kind of clustered downhill. The other thing to notice is the slope that goes down. Right now, it's an 18-foot drop from here to here, and the slope continues to Lancaster. It's a hill. And right now, we have pretty good drainage. So what we're concerned about is that if this is done, the retaining wall is stone, and you're digging down, the pool, you're digging down, and into the inset, the roots from these trees would get damaged. And Mr. Dunn actually says, this would affect the stability of these trees. It's a 70-foot tree, and if you cut the roots there, that would be his opinion. He said there are mediation things you can do, but they don't always work. And he described the intricate technique of going around the roots, but he said they don't always work. So what we're here is, I'm sure we'll be back when the whole thing is presented to you, but we just want to show you what we're thinking, and you can say, have you thought of getting this or this or this? So we can answer your questions when we come back again. And do you have any thoughts about what we could do to make the presentation more complete when we come back?
I want to add one thing. These trees are tall enough that 7 properties would be impacted if one of them fell. One of them is St. David's Park, the condo development next to it, and we sort of have standing there because we own properties at St. David's Park. The other properties that would be affected would be the Fitzgerald's house, the people who want to do the project, their 2 neighbors, their Gargano's house, our house if something fell uphill, and also Mark's house.
And their house.
Right. So if one of these trees comes down, spectacular damage. And it impacts a group, a large group. And in fact, there are 2 Norway spruces that are not included in this arborist map on St. David's Park that are right up against they're on this plan here, right up against where the new driveway is going. This is a substantial construction project. They are going to take down and essentially rebuild in this footprint, put in a 2-car garage, increase their permeable driveway. It's a 2-story addition in addition to the lap pool in here. We are particularly concerned about the things at the back of the property, but a huge amount of things are happening all over the property.
So when you're looking down from our house, it's just a beautiful sight, particularly in the autumn. You know, you have these hardwood trees and it's colorful. It gives us that barrier that actually had us buy the house in the first place. It had all these trees. Again, when you see what I presented, is there something here that is a gap that we should look into so that your questions could be answered in advance? Anything?
Have you met with the developer at all?
No, the neighbors didn't tell us they were doing this. And in fact, when they were at the zoning board, that question was asked, and they said, we didn't talk to the backdoor neighbors because there's so many trees in the way, which is...
Yes, I would suggest maybe talking to your neighbors and let them know your concerns.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way. If anything does start before they get approval, obviously call the township and let them know. But I think you have to let the process happen. It's going in zoning now. By the time it gets to us, we have all this information. We have the plans. We can see where their tree protection is, how they're going to preserve stuff, and then we can make a better suggestions or approvals or denials upon the information given to us.
Is Michael Dunn going to be representing you when you come?
Well, that was the other...
Because he's no longer, this company's no longer in business.
Right.
He works for Morris Arboretum now.
Right, we know.
Yep.
We're in the transition for him going to Morris.
Got it.
I think the company will still exist to some extent because something he'll be doing, or some of the people in the company will be maintaining. Michael perhaps not. The problem was Michael wasn't allowed to talk at the zoning meeting. He was here.
But if he came
Yeah,
to your board, would you be able to hear him?
Yes, anybody can come talk here if they want. I don't know the facts of what happened, but maybe it was a hearing and they only allow residents to speak during an actual hearing.
Well, the weird thing was is that their architect is from Paoli, not in Radnor Township, for the
Excuse me?
Fitzgeralds.
I'm sorry.
The Fitzgerald's architect was from Paoli, so he was an expert witness, and he
Yeah,
was...
so,
But that's
yeah,
good to know that if he comes,
Right.
you would be willing to ask him questions and interact with him.
sure, of course.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
If anybody else has any suggestions.
Anything we can do?
If the people who are developing the property aren't taking down any trees, will they even appear in front of us?
They will because of the excavation.
Oh,
And a
that's
pool,
right.
and a pool.
In the pool, that's
Mhm.
right. Because at the zoning meeting, it didn't sound like they were scheduled to come before you because they have 2 trees in the front of the property, large pines, which they're interested in preserving, and they're not taking those down.
Well, any
So-
pool applications has to come through Shade Tree.
Okay,
And Steve
Good.
Orsini, Patricia, they're they're not gonna let it not go through. It's gonna go through.
Okay,
It
great.
just takes a process. You have to go through the zoning first, I guess, then maybe,
Right, it's
then
just
to
that you
us.
guys appear after the zoning, so
they,
we
yeah, they
figured
have
we
to
better
find out
get-
whether they can do it or
We
not.
better get in line somewhere.
Right.
But what I would say is the report that you had gotten done is exactly what you should do to express your concerns and to show, you know, the root zone and the impact. Air spading can be done. John could probably speak more to it, and root clipping, but I mean, there's a risk in doing that, right, of impacting survivability. So certainly something that once we get further along, have the final plans, there is that checkpoint that will happen. But to James's point, I think, you know, express your concerns to the neighbors, talk, see if there's a compromise that can be done. And also, you know, your surrounding neighbors expressing the concern of, you know, these trees could fall or have a higher chance of falling if, you know, this construction does happen, and just make sure they're aware too.
But, you know, remember, we're going to be reviewing the plans, obviously. We have not seen them. They're not in front of us yet, so we really can't opine on them tonight.
Yeah.
From what I see, obviously, you know, we need to make some decisions and speak with the adjacent property to make sure that they are performing to a standard of care. However, the report you got from Mike, you might need later on in a civil matter, you know, between you and your neighbor, which we don't, you know, govern.
We
But-
understand that.
Yep.
One other thing, was it approved, the zoning, or is it?
They said, come back next meeting. All we need to see is that the new asphalt driveway can become permeable.
Gotcha. So a better reason to talk to them
Yeah.
about this, because if they get approval at zoning, and it could have simply been you talking to your neighbor and saying, hey, could you push this back another 4 feet? After they get approval, for them to move that again, they'd have to go back to zoning. So they're gonna have to pay, I think it's like $3,500 or $5,000 for a hearing from zoning.
Plus the cost of the engineer.
Yeah, so
Right,
at
but-
that point, they're not gonna wanna do it. So it's better to talk to them and ask them beforehand while they're still in that process. Right?
I just wanted to confirm, you know how to check the township agendas for the addresses to see when it might be appearing at this, that, or the other thing?
Well, we were at the meeting for zoning, and they said they would put them on the next zoning board meeting.
Okay, just, there's a section of the township website, it's just called government, and there's a search bar, and you can put in their address, and then you'll see sort of if they are already, if it's published that they're appearing,
Right.
and things like that. I just wanted to confirm that, you know, you were aware of that, so that you can see in advance when they're on a schedule, which is, I think, usually a week before the meeting at least.
Yeah.
It's posted.
When we asked about the retaining wall at the back and the pool, we were told that zoning wasn't going to discuss that, which we didn't understand. Does anybody understand that here?
The zoning
Is that
hearing
for
boards, it's predetermined testimony and documents. So it's like a court case. You know, you can't talk about evidence that you didn't submit, is the way to think about it.
Yeah, and if they're 2 feet in, they might not need a variance for the wall. They might need it for impervious, but I don't know what the zoning is for that area. What the impervious is, 40%,
Apparently, you don't
80%.
count a pool as impervious. You only count the
The
coping.
coping is impervious, but you count the wall, that's impervious.
It wasn't in the calculation for the
It will
township.
be in the grading application,
Yeah.
that's all. If
They
you-
were much more concerned about the driveway and there's a two-step that goes right up to the edge of the property, a wall over 3.3 feet. They were much more concerned about that.
Well, that's probably why it was that zoning, because of those issues. They're not looking at anything else because they're within their right to do it. They're not looking for a variance or,
They're at a 40% legally non-compliant impervious, and they want to go up to about 45.
so that's why they're there at zoning.
All right,
Well,
thank you.
for
Thanks,
your time.
guys.
Really
Good luck.
helpful. Appreciate your time. And
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Foster, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
All right, any other public comment? Hi, welcome.
I seem to have lost my audience here, but that's all right. Well, good. This thing's fantastic. I got to get one of these at work. Ben Rubin, 836 Paddock Drive. I had sent an email a couple weeks ago, and James, you responded. Before I even talk about anything, I don't know if you looked into this, if this was done with township permission, then there's nothing for me to discuss at this point. If the resident of 833 Loudon Lane had gotten permission, then it is what it is.
Did anybody else reply?
No, no.
Who did you'll have to remind me because I do remember. an
Sure.
email.
Yeah. So I had sent an email to the Township Board of Directors and to the Shade Tree Commission, and I think to the Township Engineer about, and I got most people, because I had to look up individual email, and I said, please forward if I
You only
missed.
had a few of the shade tree,
I think I had.
or just myself maybe.
I had a couple on there, but I can, so the resident of 833 Loudon, well, actually I can just sort of show you here. So this is 833 Loudon, and this is our property here. She deforested all of this last spring, and apparently about 2 or 3 days into it, of course, we were sort of upset about it, but I didn't know. I saw flags and all sorts of stuff. One of the neighbors allegedly told my wife when she was walking the dog that somebody did call the township, and the township came and stopped the work and fined the residents. But the problem is, so that's hearsay. I don't know. I didn't confirm it myself. The problem is the damage she's done is pretty profound. So if she did indeed get permission, then there's no point in me. I mean, she did it and did it legally, and I'll have to deal with it. But if she didn't, then I think at least you should know about it because some sort of restitution. I had suggested in my email maybe she could plant some, however tall one can get, giant green arborvitae, at least along the property to provide something. But I can just show you a couple pictures here. This thing's so sensitive.
Sir, while you're looking at that, can I just ask one question? Is
Yeah.
the dwelling owner's name Grace?
I don't know their name. When I saw initially, I was over there once because I saw she had a bunch of flags on the property before all this started. So I said, what's she up to?
So we did write them up. This is going back.
It would have been March of last year.
That's correct. So there was a heritage tree that was being removed without a permit. Somebody called, I think Doug went out and looked at the site. We went out and they were removing a lot of scrub brush. There was a large cherry that they were taking down. They were going to have to compensate for that. So I think they did do some plantings to compensate for that one tree. Not sure where they did it on the property. And then I believe there were some major E&S issues, erosion and sediment control, which prompted them to put a bunch of straw and seed on the back slope.
Yeah, they put something there, I'll tell you that.
I'm sure. So yes, I mean, this was on our radar, but it was only for one tree.
So the property was assessed then? So everything she did, I guess, was okay, except for there was one
No, I'm saying
non-concurrent.
absolutely not, the total opposite. So we were called for some clearing, which was just a bunch of small, young trees under a threshold of the 6 inches. When I was out there looking at that, I found that they cut down a big, large cherry tree. So we made them submit a hazard tree report. And looking at some of the photographs, it was hazardous. And that was like right behind the driveway. Other than that, we are not aware of any other trees being removed. And if there's further trees removed after we left, I'm glad you're here tonight to tell us about it.
Yeah, so I actually have some pictures. So maybe I don't want to go on the property. I don't want to trespass. And nor do I really want to have an argument with the neighbor, but why I didn't say anything. But she said, when I saw the flags, I went over there, I rang the bell, I said, what's going on here? You putting an addition on the house? It looked like it was all mapped out. She had it staked and everything. And she says, oh, no, 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 I just retired, and I want to remove some invasive species. Well, I'll tell you, she removed invasive species and a lot of other things, too. But she said, I want to have walking paths and trails, and I thought she was going to make something look like Longwood Gardens. I went back to the house, I was happy. But so basically, sort of standing from our property, this is what the property boundary looked like pre-spring of last year. I just have a couple of those, just to give you some perspective. So this was it here. This tree got struck. We did an addition here, and we put the fence and all that stuff. We spent a fortune with the township. And then as soon as we took the fence down, 2 days later, it got struck by lightning. So after all that. Well, there's the light, exactly, there goes my lightning rod. This is the tree now, but anyway, this is what we were looking at, and, you know, whatever, I could go through the routine talks, and there was a golden eagle and all this stuff. So anyway, March, I come home one day, and this is going on. So this machine is here. I didn't see into the woods, but the neighbor next to me said it looked like something from Dr. Seuss. It was like chomping trees and spinning them up and grinding them up all in one shot, you know. So there was this machine, and then and then you turn around, and next thing you know, whatever trees they were at, he turned it into this. There were these all over the property, piles of mulch like this. And then, let me see here.
I will say, just as a little, that last picture you showed, it looks like it has a forestry attachment on the front. And so if that was the case, they were probably taking smaller than what the threshold.
With this machine.
Yeah. Because it won't grind up bigger trees. When you approach it.
I don't know how big these are, it's hard to say. But I can show you the aftermath, this tree here. I don't know how many trees, she did take out a lot of brush. I mean, there was a lot of sticker bushes and all that other stuff there. They did take some trees, you would know, you were there, I don't know. Trees are not my business.
So a question for you
Other
real quick.
business.
So those flags, because I asked the same question when I was on site, and I was told by the tree company and some other representative, I don't think it was the homeowner, said that they hired a naturalistic landscape designer, their exact words verbatim, and they were going to come out and reforest all the edges. Has that occurred?
No, so this is, I'll show you right now. So I took these pictures Sunday night. So this is what I'm looking at now. So maybe this is the straw or whatever you were talking about. I see they go out with a wheelbarrow and they dump some stuff there, whatever. But I could never see into this before. This is what I'm looking at now. I don't know what this is. She's got buildings here. She's got frames, sticks. I don't know what. Well, I think a garden, we could use a very loose definition of garden. I don't know what she's growing there, but she's doing something. I see her out there doing something. I don't know what it is. And then she's got this here. I don't know what's in here. She's got a yellow thing, a yellow building, and a green building, and a frame. And she said she was going to turn it into walking paths and, well, okay, whatever. So there's been no plantings of any. I don't have to keep showing you pictures or stand here all night looking at pictures of my yard. It's bad enough that I have to look at it. You have to look at it too. But anyway, I haven't seen her plant anything. So I planted a few giant greens last year, and I thought, oh, super fast growing. Well, you know, they grow like this much, you plant them. So now I'm looking at the tips. But so I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what she took out. I don't know what she did after you told her to stop, and I don't know what her plan is now. But her idea of landscape architecture is probably different from some other people's idea of landscape architecture.
So what is your objective? How can we help you? Do you want us to contact the owner and find out what the game plan is?
Well,
Would you like me to meet with you?
so my question is that I put in the email was, look, if she plants shade trees or whatever, I'll be dead by the time these things grow up and make this thing look like what was there. The question is, if she did this work illegally, can the township require, say, that she put a row of giant green arborvitae at the property boundary, at least so I don't have to look at this and replace at least some of the tree material that she took down? And I don't know the answer to
So
that.
the answer to that would be no, because if she took down what sounds like a heritage tree, is that what you said? They would have to replant with 4 large canopy trees, which a green giant wouldn't be considered, and then they can plant 2 of any other type of tree, which could be green giants, but that wouldn't get you a row. So they couldn't require her to do that because the requirement is 4 large canopy, 2 of any type of tree, if they remove a large
But that
heritage
tree was hazardous, right, John?
No, so there was no compensation needed. Oh, is that?
Correct, and that's on the record. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said there was a second heritage tree. No. Oh, gotcha. So yeah, there is none. No, if it's a hazard tree, then there's
So
no
there is a
compensation.
record that we can all see where the owner filed what's called a hazardous tree report, which
Oh,
is what
before
John
she
was
did,
saying.
before she did the work?
Or, yes. But still, it was done by a professional arborist who said, yes, it was a hazardous tree. So in that situation, she's not required to compensate with any new trees because it
Okay.
was deemed hazardous.
What
And she
about the
doesn't-
soil and
she doesn't
erosion
need a hazard
stuff?
tree report until a month after, if it was a danger. If
Right.
there's a hazard and you
Yeah, good
feel
point.
that the tree is a hazard, you can cut it down at any point and then submit a hazard tree report within a month. That's what the township ordinance says. Yeah, I know.
No, the motive was she just did it, and, you know. What about the soil and erosion?
John, turn your mic on.
Are you experiencing any additional water flow into your yard?
No, I doubt it. I mean, if there is, nothing that I've noticed.
So the answer would be no. I mean, if you
Okay.
were, then I would contact engineering and Mr. Norsini tomorrow morning, and they'd be,
No, I mean, look, I'm
concerned.
not looking to create a problem with her, because, you know, if I go after her and you make a phone call, next thing she'll find something on my property, and then she'll be standing here complaining about something that I did, not that I did anything wrong. But if there was something major that she did, my wife basically said to me, she's like, well, before you go out and buy this stuff and plant it, maybe the township can require she did it because she didn't get permission to do it, allegedly. So it sounds like she did it. She maybe did a little bit wrong, but nothing majorly serious is what I'm kind of taking from the whole
Well, beyond that
thing.
large hazardous tree, it sounds like there was a possibility that there could have been additional work that was done that we don't know about.
Let's do this, because I did see in one of the photos that you provided, and thank you for those, a
welcome.
couple logs that I was not familiar with when I was on the site. So what I'll do is, won't have an answer for you tomorrow.
No, it's
But
fine.
we will, Ricky and I will go to the site and see if there was any additional trees removed that were greater than 6 inches. And then we will take that up with the dwelling owner at that time.
So if they did, then basically you just tell her she has to plant some replacement trees. Is that the plan?
Correct.
Okay. In the meantime, I guess the message I'm taking from this is I should go get my own giant green arborvitae and go plant
So,
them
no,
because
absolutely not. So, I mean, what is wrong with working in tandem with your neighbor? I mean, knocking on the door again, saying, hey, can we work together to repopulate this buffer that once existed between us both? I mean, you could say, you know, make a joke out of it like you did with us tonight. You know, say, hey, you know, you don't want to look at me, I don't want to look at you.
well, no, maybe she does want to look at me. Maybe that's why she cut all this
there
down.
you go.
Maybe that
You're
was
a
the
handsome
motive.
fellow, that's
I
why.
mean, I would want to look at me if I were the neighbor, but let's face it. So, but anyway, no, I get it. I appreciate the advice. It's up to you whether you want to go out there and look at the property or not.
We're going to go out there, absolutely. You brought this
If
to our
you
attention,
if
we're
you're
going to make sure.
concerned about something, you know, Like you say, you know what I want to get out of it, which is I just don't want to see all this stuff.
Yep.
So I'll take care of that, and then if the township is concerned, Shade Tree Commission's concerned about other things that she may have done or may be doing,
Yep.
then you can, deal with that.
Appreciate
But
that,
I'm
yeah.
not looking to make trouble with her.
No, no,
believe
absolutely
me,
not.
so.
We appreciate residents like you coming in and letting us know what's going on and your concerns. It's
Well,
very
I'll
important.
spread the word. Anybody else like me in the township, you
Yep.
come to the Shade Tree Commission meeting on
We meet the
Wednesdays
last Sunday of every month, just tell them that.
Right, yeah. It'll be the last Sunday is right.
And
All right.
Just to add on, sorry, but they are permitted to take down 5 trees per year. So, yeah.
All right, well,
Thank you. We're back in April, if you have time.
I agree.
You make it interesting.
You can always join. You can join.
Thank you.
Committees.
I don't know anything about trees.
That's all right.
You will.
All right. Yeah. Next on the agenda is hazardous trees. There's nothing there. Trees removed by township. Anything you want to talk about, guys? No? No? Cool, sounds good. All right.
Ian, could you
Any public
queue up
particip-
to- oh, never mind,
doing
actually.
more?
I'm sorry, Ms. Kristen. Everything that John said, I do want to draw attention to, it's 18 trees on here minus, or 18 locations. But I highlighted the yellow just to make sure that half of these locations was due to the storms that have been coming through the
We had
township.
2 bad ones, yeah.
Yeah, so, as much as, we normally don't see this many in a month, but with these storms that are coming through, this does bear in mind that
They
right-of-way
landed on
conversation.
roads?
Hmm?
Did they go on roads or?
Oh, yeah. That's why we're they're on here.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's a really,
Keep it up.
it's important. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ricky. Thank you, John. Make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Second, aye.
Thanks, guys.